and then you'll see it. There it is. See your clock right there, guys?
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday night. You know what that means. It's Vintage Rescue Squad. What? StreamYard was first again in the chat. I don't know how they do it, but they're
Good
consistent.
job, StreamYard. Way to be prompt.
We like somebody prompt. Speaking of somebody prompt, Becca Moore, lady, you get first shout out. You were the first comment. Hello to you. Hi, all. How are we doing? I love a good pig. Constance is here. My goodness, tongue twister. Kathy, Tiger. Tiger, I know had to step out for a minute or two. He will be back. We've got Bree, hello lady, and we've got Randy Heilman. Special shout out to Randy Heilman because right, Randy Girl Vintage there. If not for Randy, Randy highly recommended Mother Tucker's to me. So, the first time I went down, I absolutely loved it. And I wanted to go back. And that second time, I definitely knew that I wanted to take Allison. And it just so happened it was the perfect meeting point. And out of that grew this. So, Randy Heilman, girl,
Yay.
This one's for you tonight, lady. Thank you so much. We've got Jane and Joanne. Oh my goodness, Courtney.
Wait, go back to Joanne. Go back to Joanne. Mackinac. No, it's mainly vintage. I thought that was Mackinac Island, Joanne. Maine is good, but I thought that was Mackinac Island. I got a little excited there. I'm sorry.
I gotta say, Joanne, I'm digging that avatar. That's a clever girl. Yeah. Switch it over. Call it. It's mainly vintage.
Vintage.
There you
That's
go.
A good one. Yes. Uh-oh, we've got a procrastinator. I was talking about you while we were behind the studio. We saw you. I said we got a procrastinator, but at least you're procrastinating with us, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Andrea is here. Oh my goodness, Sophia. Egghead, Sandra. All right, guys, we could do that all night, just like we always could. Hello, everybody. Again, thank you for being with us this evening. Super excited. This is a first for Vintage Rescue Squad. You have seen them in the chats, whether here on YouTube or over on Instagram. They're both the same, Mother Tuckers, and that is Jason and Tina. We are so happy that we get to officially introduce them to the community. You guys want to take it away and say hello to everybody?
Hello. Hi guys. Hello everybody. We're the owners of Mother Tucker's Antiques. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, brick and mortar. Come on in, see us. All the above.
Yep. We've been doing this for 13
years.
I'm bad at math. But quite a while, and love the store, and we're super excited to be here.
Yes. I mean, we've had the store since 2008. We started selling in there probably 2 years before we bought the store. So we've been part of that store for about 15 years. Before that, we sold at the flea market. I grew up going to antique stores and thrift stores and flea markets and yard sales and all that stuff. And when we met, somebody had to furnish their apartment. So I said, hey, I'll take you to thrift stores. Well, ever since then, she's been hooked. And then it was an auction, and then it was antique stores. And, a box lot for 50 cents, a whole bunch of stuff you don't know what to do with. And, then now you loathe those $2 boxes of stuff. What am I going to do with all this extra stuff? And I only wanted 2 things out of it. But when you first get it, but it's, yes.
And out of that grew your very own business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. You had to do something with all those box lots of stuff. So we figured.
We started selling in the store, and
then we started selling to cover our addiction of collecting things. And
I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just like cool stuff. That's all.
Yes.
Right.
Same.
Right.
And I'm sure most people want to know, did we name Mother Tucker's Mother Tucker's? We didn't name it that. We inherited
Sadly.
the name. We love the name, but maybe someday we'll talk about how Mother Tucker's came to be, the name.
Oh my gosh. And to make it easy for
Daniel
everybody.
said, "Holy Mother Chuckler, it's the Mother Tuckers."
Yeah.
Hi,
Mhm.
Daniel.
I love you, Daniel.
I love when he eats ice cream out of like different compotes and things like that. Those are my favorite pictures.
I'm telling you, there needs to be a movement. That needs to be a movement. You eat your ice cream out of Fenton, but very carefully.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to damage it, but you know.
Yes.
Well, there was a time. I mean, there was
Well,
a
yeah.
time. I mean, why not bring it back?
Right.
Get a little bougie with it. So yeah,
Right.
guys, just to make it really easy for everybody, down in the description of this evening's live video, Mother Tucker's website and their Instagram page is both listed. And of course, so is Misty Pates. Okay, just in case you happen not to be following or subscribed to anybody, it is completely free and it's just a small way of being able to show your support for a small business. Okay, Misty, do you want to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everybody. I'm at my mom's in Florida. We went to Goodwill today. I did something I swore that I would never do again, and I filmed a Goodwill video. I had to go to 2 different ones. It still isn't that great, but I got a few things, but not very much. I came with an empty suitcase ready to fill it. And I'm not gonna Wednesday we're going to the antique stores, and that's my happy place. So fingers crossed.
That's your happy place.
You'll do good at those.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's really interesting though? I guess like Jason and Tina, you guys really do kind of get like the best of the both worlds, right? I mean, you guys have the antique store, but you also do a lot of sourcing through thrift stores. So you're kind of like it's all one big thing.
You're in
Obviously, you
Pennsylvania.
guys prefer antique malls.
You're in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're in Pennsylvania. Well, that's
Yes.
why. That's where the thrift stores are great.
But it depends on what you're looking for. You know what I
Right.
mean? It depends
We're all
because
looking
we
for
were
the same
saying,
things.
yeah, but what we were saying like before you got in is that, there might be some folks that really enjoy some vintage Christmas and how difficult it is now, even in Pennsylvania, to go into a thrift store and find real good, true vintage Christmas. And we're not talking about like the 80s onward, but like that
Yeah.
60s, 50s, and later, if you're really lucky, like those things are few and far in between.
Right. Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems like I guess just seems like a lot of the good stuff dries up anymore at thrift stores. And like we were kind of discussing earlier, that it seems like here in Pennsylvania, at least we're fortunate that it's an older state. We're fortunate that more people donated. So there's an overabundance of things that are donated to thrift stores. So if they are going to take, like we had said, all the ceramic trees, they probably get 100 of them each year. They put 75 on their websites. At least 25 of them still come out to the public. So we still got a fighting chance, but it still is not nearly as good as it was years ago.
Definitely.
But don't you think that's kind of the fun though as well? I mean, it's kind of, is it harder to find things than what it used to be at like Goodwills or thrift stores? Yeah, but we still go in there on that slim chance that maybe today, we all have that where you pray to the goodwill gods before you go in. Could be good to me today. I have that conversation all of the time.
Yep.
Be good to me today. And sometimes it pays off. You might find one or two things, but we all kind of go in there so hopeful, just so hopeful. We have hope in our heart that it might be the day. And, sometimes it is and sometimes it's not. I mean, Goodwill has done a really well. Goodwill's selling online, so I mean
Yeah.
they're kind of they're trying to do the same things that we are, really.
Right.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
they have people that they've paid to come in and pull from the raw donations,
Mhm.
But
and they sell them on eBay and they sell them on their website.
I think that's a really interesting topic though, because let's talk about that. Do you guys, and please let me know now in the comment, and I'm just going to answer this really quickly. Marissa, Mother Tucker's is located in, are you guys going to call it Central or are you going to call it South Central Pennsylvania?
They consider us, we're central Pennsylvania
Okay.
in Lancaster County. And I mean, our address is Ephrata, but we are an extension of Adamstown, which calls itself Antiques Capital USA.
Right.
So, I mean, we do
Right.
we do admit, yes, we're in Adamstown, but we're really in Ephrata. So it's one, two, half dozen of the other, but there are probably three villages or three towns in between us and Adamstown itself. So, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Adamstown is technically in Berks County. So it's technically not Lancaster County, but it still is. So
Yeah. And again, but that's the thing. Like, if you Google Mother Tucker's
yeah.
Antique Mall, Pennsylvania, there's only one. So when in doubt, and again, I put the website is directly down below, and on the homepage, you will see the home address. You'll see the address as well as the phone. You're not
He's
going to
gonna give
see
everybody
Jason
your
and
home
Tina's
address.
home address.
Well, I got stuff in the garage. Come on over. I'll price stuff
I,
for you.
I mean, hey,
Absolutely.
make that money how you make that money. But I guess, and this is the other thing that, because we were talking about the ceramic Christmas trees, because for me, it was, if I go into Mother Tucker's and I see a ceramic Christmas tree and I see a price of $50, I'm like, wow, that's a great deal. But if I were to go into Goodwill and find one that's identical and I were to see it at $40, I'm like, I can't believe they're trying to charge me that, even though it's $10 cheaper. So
Right.
is that, I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Because I don't know. I'm conflicted because the better part of me wants to believe that I'm paying $40 to something that they got for free, truth be told.
Right.
But the reason I'm paying that $40 at a thrift store is because they've got this really good mission. And I want to believe in that mission.
Right.
Yet I'm willing to pay the extra $10 and not think anything of it because I'm going in to support a small business. And it's really interesting that I'm willing to do that to help individuals like Jason or Tina. Yet I'm hesitant to want to do that at a Goodwill, even though it's for a good cause. Do you know what I mean? Is that weird?
No.
No, and it
I'm just going to say it. Part of it is that, walking into our store, we didn't get it for free.
Right.
Not to be mean, but
but there is this stigma of antique stores. The old school stigma of an antique store as a customer. Now, I'm going back decades ago. It was that almost an antique store, an antique owner or a dealer was a thief because they always came and got my stuff for nothing and they were making all the money on it.
right.
Maybe at one time in the 50s, that's what it was, but not by today's standards. By today's standards, it's somebody who is a collector. It's somebody who this is what they do to make a living. Sometimes it's what I guess they call side hustle nowadays. Anyone that is selling or has an antique store, it's like a potpourri of people. You don't know where they're coming from, but by today's standards, 90% of them did not get it for free.
Right.
They didn't have it donated to them. They have worked in it. They've either stood at an auction all day. They've either went to multiple thrift stores, burned up a ton of gasoline going to, yard sales. Then you bring it home. Then you need to price it. You need to research it. Then you need to actually get it into the store.
Yeah.
to make a margin that is very slim. But at the end of the day, what's going to drive you is your passion for what you're doing. And there's been times, right? But there's been times I've been at the store that I was frustrated, and I would look to a dealer and I'd say, well, at least I'm not stuck in a cubicle. You know, at least I'm with the public. I love people. We would look at each other and say the same thing.
Right.
The passion is what's going to drive you to do something like this. It's not going to be the monetary, because you are going to have good times, you're going to have bad times. So
Yep. It's very much an ebb and a flow. You have your good months and your bad months and your stressful months and the months that you think, oh, this is great. And then the months that you think, what am I doing? So that's all part of being an entrepreneur in any business, not necessarily just the antiques and reselling business, but that's just any business, altogether, any business. And I think that you hit the nail on the head. You have to be passionate about what you do and love what you do. And I think that majority of us that do this full time, I count my blessings every day as how cool is it that this is what I get to do for a living? Because like I'm on vacation, but I'm still not on vacation because, on my vacation, the things that I want to do is I want to go to antique malls and I still want to do all of these things. So
You're like, I've never been here. Let's see.
Vacation in your life.
Yep. I mean,
we thrifted our way. We literally hit thrift stores on the way to the beach and on the way home. I mean, that's part of our vacation.
It is.
So
it's absolutely.
And
It's like
Tina, this is a really good question that Tina has.
Yeah.
Eclectic treasure hunter, Tina.
Eclectic treasure hunter.
Do you see more resellers? Do you see more resellers at your store now, like within the past year, or like since COVID, probably? Because I think COVID really started to bring a lot more resellers to the forefront because everyone kind of was looking for either a different side hustle or a different, full-time hustle. So have you seen an increase in resellers in your locations?
In our area, it's very unique. And the reason why we always promote Lancaster County or Antiques Capital USA is that we've always kind of been this local mecca for antiquing.
Right.
So it has always drawn dealers. So for example, we have these things that we also call extravaganzas. Adamstown itself and locally, it's all started with the Readinger, flea markets, which there's some in Florida, So they always had these things like extravaganza. So, and what that did was it brought dealers in to purchase goods. So our area in Adamstown was always very dealer based from the get-go. Also with like Shucks Grove, which was one of the earliest, flea markets, things like that. And then it kind of morphed into retail, because retail customers, people that were traveling, and of course locals antiquing. So we have always had a potpourri, even prior to the pandemic, of resellers. For example, one of the examples I'll use is like for Florida example. We would get a lot of snowbirds that would come up here during the summer months and go to our auctions, go to our antique stores and thrift stores. Then they would pack it all and go home to Florida, and that's what they sold in Florida through the winter months. Yeah. So I can't say that we have had. I don't think we haven't had an increase of resellers come through. We've always had that. It's just because of our area and our reputation of the area. Right. If we were probably, in another state, I really can't answer that. For our area, I can say that we haven't seen an influx. It's probably decreased because some of the people have got out of our industry, or they haven't traveled because of COVID, or because of some of those restrictions. They've just decided to go and do online things. So, and they're doing
that makes sense.
Yeah. And they're doing their sourcing online. That's a lot of high bid and a lot of things like that, which has completely changed the whole dynamic of purchasing things now. Because when I used to purchase things, I knew that I was going to be there all day, so I could wait out people to get merchandise for the store, things like that. Now everybody has the leisure of being at home, they'll throw their highest bid because they're not going through the trenches of a cold day or a hot day being at auction. It's driven prices up, so it's made it harder for people in our industry to get merchandise.
That's true.
Yeah.
So Sandra K is asking, now you guys are, oh boy, how do we go about this? So, you've had Mother Tuckers and you have begun exploring the world of social media, the communities, the marketing tools of social media. How are you guys feeling about like your exploration and your branching out into social media?
I think excited.
Yes, it gives us like a new frontier to explore.
I think it's a way to expand the store,
right?
But you can't physically, knock down walls and build on.
Right.
It's given us an opportunity to look at something that can expand our business in a different way, which is cool.
And I have been very impressed with anybody that has, even with any of the people that have YouTube channels that I've watched, like both of you, you're both very respectful. And I know, Misty, you have even said, and what it's even like, if I go into a store and I wouldn't be filming myself, I'll look at something and say, for a retail customer, that's a fair price. But for me, there's no meat on the bone. I can't take it back to my store to sell it. So I like it. They do a good job. I just can't buy it.
Well, and we talked a little bit about this before we went live, is, there's that whole stigma of people like, well, I don't shop at antique malls, or I don't shop at antique stores because everything's marked up. It's all retail prices. And that isn't the case. No. It's all very demographic sometimes. I know that down here in Florida, like the tropical things are going to be a little bit more pricey. You can't hardly give the stuff away that's tropical related in Indiana. You know what I mean? So the pricing is going to be a little bit different where you are at geographically. Also, we were talking, like, I may have, like, say I have this beautiful slag glass lamp. It's a beautiful lamp. And I'm so sick of seeing it. I don't want to look at it anymore. It's taking up space on a table that I want to use for other things. I may have had $50 on it, and I may come in and I may have like, it's $5 today. This lamp is going to be $5 because I am sick of looking at it. And we've all done that. We've all done that with in an antique booth or an antique store. You're slashing prices. And I still, and I will always say, you should have a sale in your booth every once in a while. Doesn't have to be every month. But because you don't want people to say, well, I'm going to wait until the third week of every month to go shopping there, because that's when they have it. So it can't be like, it has to be willy-nilly. Like, it can't be scheduled.
Random.
Now, that's something that really did impress me at Mother Tucker's, because, in my videos, and I think I'm pretty upfront about it, and I think most of us are, a lot of, I would say, the YouTube resellers that are going out and filming it, I think most of us do prefer an antique store or a mall or vendor mall, a co-op, over a thrift store. But we always are looking for sales. And it's always disappointing when we walk in and we find 0 sales. But that is one of the first things that, aside from all the kitsch, of course, but that there were so many sales. I mean, is that something that you guys, you highly recommend to your vendors, that, you guys should have a sale if you want to move stuff, you should, or are you just kind of like
it's your booth, you do what you want.
Well, back when we first took over the store, the previous owner, the only way that she could drive foot traffic was to entice with sales. So we had inherited some dealers that were steadfast by, this is the way I conduct business. I want to continue to do it this way. And we were all right with that, because we recognize it as we own the store. We have the umbrella. Any dealer that has a space with us, they have their own business. So they're their own little business within our little business. So I shouldn't tell them what kind of discount or when they're going to do a discount. It should be at their discretion. I can advise them, I can give them guidance, but there are some malls that dictate when you'll have a sale. And if we're doing a store-wide 20%, you're gonna do it whether you like it or not, or you'll go stand in your booth and have to. Right. You'll have. Could you imagine if you didn't want to run a sale and you got to go stand and put firm on everything? Then when the sale comes down, how are you going to remove firm? So it helps us. I mean, in some aspects, some folks come in and say, well, it's always on sale. Well, you never know when that dealer is going to change their discount. You know, they do increase their discounts heading into our extravaganzas. They will increase their discounts heading into Black Friday and Small Business Saturday. They will, you know, bring them lesser as it's leaner months and they need to make more profit. But we've always left it up to our dealers. It's good, it's bad. There's good and bad in anything, but we felt that it was it's not, like I said, it's not my place to tell you that we're taking 20% off of your slide glass lamp, whether you want it or not. That's just the way we never thought that's the way an antique store should be run. A co-op should be run. So I never did that.
I agree with that. And I think that way of doing things, you're going to keep your vendors happy as well. If you're constantly saying, if you're ruling with an iron fist all the time, you're probably going to get a little bit of a reputation in the community, and people are going to be like, I don't know that I really want to set up at this mall because, you know, there's a lot of restrictions that I have to do. And so I think that that's really important. That's an important aspect. And I think that, you know, that's a good thing if people are trying to think about beginning an antique booth. Maybe those are some of the things, the questions that they should ask the owners of the antique booth. You know, are there like, would you recommend specific, like, are there a certain few questions that you would recommend somebody that was wanting to start an antique booth that they would, when they're I don't say they're interviewing, when they're talking to the owner of an antique mall? What are some of the things that you recommend for people?
You should probably always look at a store. First of all, find a store that you like. If you start with a store that you like, or if it's a store, you should never go and you should, in my opinion, you should not sell in a store that you source from. That's not good.
Interesting.
Keep them separate. If you like to source in a store, that's fine. It's going to muddy the waters. It's going to be too conflicted.
It's the don't poop where you eat thing.
Exactly.
I was thinking that.
So if there's malls that you like to source in, keep those as malls that you like to source in. Find a mall that's convenient to you, because you're going to have to probably go in there at least once a week if you want to be successful.
Well, hopefully.
Right.
You should be going once a week.
Right. So the best thing is to find a mall that you are comfortable with. Then make sure that it's a mall that fits your genre. Being the owner of a store, you toe the line with, are we now a flea market? Are we now an indoor yard sale?
Yeah,
are we now the store that has all crafts? You know, is that store of all new stuff? And as our business kind of evolves and continues to move on, we, first of all, owning the store, we have to keep our spaces rented. So we have overhead that we have to be conscious of, but you have to make sure that you don't sell yourself out just to keep yourself full. Now, it's a benefit for us, but it's not a benefit to my dealers. It's not a benefit to the customers that come in, because I know, and this is my personal preference, if I walk into a mall and I see a whole bunch of craft things, I think to myself, if I got 20 minutes, that mall I'm not going to, but I'm going to go to the one, 20 minutes down the road that I know that has more antiques and collectibles. So,
I think a lot, like women, or I mean guys too, but for women who shop in department stores, like we have specific stores we like for specific reasons. You're not going to find stuff at the Dollar Tree in Macy's and vice versa. So I think you need to take all of those things in consideration and figure out where you think you fit best.
Right. And at least if you're in a mall that you like, or has the same style things, at least you have something to build upon. So that's what we've always, because not only do we own a store, but we sell in other stores. We have space. So we always go to places that we've liked, or colleagues of ours, things like that. But yeah, that's what I would say. Number one, find a store that you like, and then also know what you like, but don't always sell what you like, because what you like doesn't necessarily mean that somebody else is going to like it. So you have to broaden your scope of what you like. You need to learn some more. And in our business, we always call it that you're paying for your education, because you are going to purchase things that you made mistakes on, and that's all right. Instead of having, student loans, you may have just got stung with $100 thing that is going to look nice on your mantle, and you're going to hate it every time you walk by it because you didn't want it, but you're stuck with it.
Or you're going to make it the Misty deal, and you're going to sell it for $5 just to get it out of your booth.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're like, I'm so sick of seeing that thing. It's going to be $5. And the person, and like the first person that comes in is like, this is $5. I'm like, yes, it is. You want to buy it?
Yep.
We'll be carrying it out.
Yep.
I'll give you 4.
I'll carry it to the car. I'll do. Yes, exactly. Yep.
But you know what? That person comes back. That person comes back. If you can bundle things and you give somebody a good experience, they're going to come back. Your customers are a walking, talking billboard for your business, for your booth.
That's how we got here, Misty. Hello. That's how we got here, right? Thank you, Michael.
No, thank you, Randy.
Yeah. Right.
Right there.
I mean, it's true.
Right there it is.
I mean, it's true. It's true. I mean, there, when I go in and film at antique booths, y'all know who my favorite booths are, and and I like beeline to those booths. And there are some booths that I go into, the malls that I go into every week that are local to me. I don't even look through the booths. Do they have good things in there? Yeah, they do. But they never run a sale. And it never changes because there isn't a lot of circulation in the booth. It's more like a museum than it is, a retail space.
You can always mark something up and bring it down. Do you know what I mean? Like you can look at something and say, okay, silly me, this was not worth the $100 I have on it. It's worth much less. Let me reprice it.
Now, you said, Jason, earlier you were saying about how, it's not you can recommend, but you don't necessarily require, because at the end of the day, these are people running their own businesses and you just happen to house that business. I mean, are there things maybe that you would see in regards to pricing or in regards to, hey, how come you never have a sale? It's not something necessarily that you're going to say you better. But are those the kind of things that, you take active leadership in, or is that even part of kind of like your organization or your business? Or do you know what I mean? Like, how does that work? How do you have that conversation?
It definitely is a difficult conversation, but it is one that you have to have, because at least I'll speak for our store.
Okay.
I want our store to be like a family. When I speak with my dealers, I always say it's our store. I want them to understand that I'm the guy, we're the ones on the line for everything, but we have their best intentions in mind. We want them to have the best intentions for their dealers in the store, and we are a family, many a times, during extravaganzas, they've come in to volunteer. We've stood around and had pizza together. We all know about, if a family member is sick, if they're sick, what's going on. So, but with all that said, I say that to say that yes, then it does make for a difficult conversation to have when somebody brings in something. And I will say, when I have been there and I work there and I go back to see the booth after the dealer leaves, if they have something, let's take a Fenton vase, for example. And let's say that normally it's a $70 vase and they have 200 on it. Next time in passing, I just might say, hey, you're going to have a hard time getting that for that. And then I try to give them a good example why. I wouldn't, scold them or tell them it's wrong. And I've had pushback from some dealers, and then we just kind of agree to disagree. And then 6 months later, when they haven't sold and they've given notice and they're taking that $200 Fenton vase home with them, And I'm not saying that I was right. It just kind of proved what was trying to be explained to them or shown them. And I've had a lot of the dealers say, "Hey, you're in here. Can you give me your guidance?"
There you
You
go.
know, a lot of times
a lot of times they'll ask too, like, "Hey, I'm not selling as much," or "Hey, I was really good when I first came in, and now 3 months later, my sales are falling down. What can you help me?"
The unique thing about a co-op, unlike selling on your own, is that we are a community, just like people on Instagram are a community, or just like people on YouTube are a community. We're a community, and we help one another. So if somebody's struggling, usually I'm not the one that has to talk to that dealer about their pricing. Usually another dealer has said something to them. So, and at least for my store, and I know for other stores, everybody is very helpful in helping one another. Now, you do have that one dealer that doesn't want to tell the other dealer because they're marking things too low, because as soon as they leave, they're running up to the counter with 5 things in their hand so that they can buy it. But that's how this business works, because a lot of the things that we have are one-offs, not meaning that they're one-off, but in our store, you're not going to come in and find 10 swung vases unless your neighbor says to you, "Hey, are they?" But then you do the right thing and you say, "No, don't donate those to Goodwill. Let me take them to my store." And
you can donate them to me. I'll take them. Don't put yourself out.
Right. Yeah, so I hope that answered the questions. And I think we have a question. What's the hottest?
And to follow up with Judy's question, asking what would be the hottest thing or things that you think are the hottest things, Ollie is actually, I'm going to follow that right up because I think they tie in really good together.
Yeah.
Is that how do you know what is going to be in trend? So is there something that you are seeing that really is making a comeback or is very popular? And then based on that, are you kind of buying similar or same things? And how do you stay on trend or ahead of trend with merchandise?
Well, I always found that I was on trend when I was behind the counter, because I got to see firsthand what customers were buying. Scenes in our area, especially in the years that we've had the store, I have seen a lot of things come and a lot of things go. For example, when we first took over the store in 2008, I had seen probably a few years prior, so maybe around 2000, I think it was on PBS, they had said that if you want to be successful in antiques in the new millennium, you need to learn mid-century. Now, I had already been ahead of that curve. There I was, 17 years old, at an auction, for, I think it was $10, I got my chrome dinette that we still eat off of.
Oh,
so
wow.
I had liked these things, and then when we first moved in together, I was at an auction and we got a Danish hutch, a Danish hutch. I got it for $10 and couldn't even fit it in the van. About 3 feet of it hung out with the doors open. I was driving home at night with the 4-ways on. To get home at night, I come busting in when she got off of work. I said, "I got this thing." I don't know how we lugged it out of the back of the van and got it into the house, but
we did take it around back into through the sliding glass door, mind you.
But sorry, I got off track. But then to explain trends, since I've been behind the counter and we've owned the store and things of that nature, mid-century, anything that was 50s and 60s is very hot. I never thought that I would see a run on fairy lamps like I have seen. I remember when I was the only guy bringing in these things called, finger vases or swung vases. I was lucky to get $30 for them, and all my dealers that liked Flint glass and early glass would look at me like, "Okay, my mom had that." But then some of the trends that were hot since we've had the store is, look out, it was Pyrex. Pyrex took us by storm. We always knew.
Well, I'm just saying, like the Freddy the Frog and the stuff from the 70s and stuff too is starting to.
Yes, the mushroom. Yes, the Mary mushroom, I think it is. In the biggest thing that hit our area, which I know that folks anywhere out of this area don't know what these are called, but you've all heard of peanut butter glasses. They were very hot. They've cooled down.
Yes.
But in our area, it was something called a sour cream glass,
which is shorter.
Yes.
So it's yeah.
Do you know what sour cream glasses are, Michael? Well,
I don't think that I do. I mean, maybe.
they're not as popular now, but what the local dairies used to do back in the 50s and 60s was they would, when they delivered milk, you would have this glass and your sour cream came in it. And once you were done using the sour cream, you were left with this glass
like
that had yes, but in essence it was sour cream. Well, all of a sudden I think it was the devil, it was the devil, Martha Stewart, who I guess published something. And I remember being in the store. I was working on a Sunday, and all of a sudden, the one dealer comes busting in, and he's got all these sour cream glasses in his hand. And I said, "What? Why are you? We sell them, but why do you want them?" Oh, he said, "Oh, I'm going to corner the market on these sour cream glasses. The article's going. They were just up at the road at one of the shops up the street. The person that picks for Martha Stewart bought some. This is going to be hot." Well, wasn't he right? 2 months later, you couldn't touch them. They were going nuts. You couldn't even find them at the thrift stores anymore. You couldn't get them at auction. I haven't the inside on it, went to other antique stores outside of the area to pick up sour cream glasses and put these things on eBay. And some of these glasses were bringing $800. I mean,
it was insanity.
Wow.
Yeah. But to watch some of the trends, I will say that right now it's Christmas, and it probably always is Christmas. And these things that strike an emotion, always seem to be the things that, really, really hold their value, and they really are hot.
I think anything nostalgic,
yeah,
right? Like we tend to like the 50s and 60s, and a lot of that comes from both of us growing up and being close with our grandparents.
Sure.
So, I have fiberglass lampshades with lamps from my grandma's vanity in my bedroom because it reminds me of her. And I think anything nostalgic is really where that, comes from, is what you like and love.
Jeffrey said, "Do not call my Queen Martha the devil."
She's a she-devil. She-devil. She-devil, Jeffrey. She's she-devil. She's she-devil. There you go. All in the attic took care of it for us.
Jeffrey's clutching his pearls now. One thing though, I think that helps is with selling anything necessarily, and when you have a booth, is the way that you display it. I think it's important to, if we're talking about starting trends and things like that. But I think that if you're watching Pinterest boards, that's a really, really good source to find out what's trending. Looking at like the Midwest Living magazines or the flea market style magazines, those sorts of things give you a lot of ideas of what's trending as far as things on a decor standpoint. And then when you're displaying things in your booth to kind of follow those trends, people can get an idea of how they can use those things in their own home. And it could be something as non-traditional as a sour cream glass. You stick a little tea light candle in that and put a little wreath around it, and people are like, "Oh my God, look what I can do with this." And my granny had one. I remember this. And so they're going to use it in their home too. So I think that paying attention to the trend, not only just for the live sale things, but honestly, that's where I pay attention to those trends that are happening on Pinterest and in the styled magazines too, when I'm outsourcing for things that are kind of what are in people's mind for their home.
Misty, don't you also think that just the store? Like, go to Target, go to like you go to department stores and they're glass. It looks retro. It has that vibe to it.
Absolutely.
Like in our area, and I'm sure at other places, Farmhouse is in right now. We have a dealer in our store that she specializes in Farmhouse. That's not our that's not our decorating, but we respect it and
Yeah.
we like it. Just like, shabby chic was really hot for a while,
Right.
Painting, poor folks that love mid-century, but they'd watch those, pieces of mid-century furniture get destroyed and painted, but it gave it new life. And if that's what people liked, that's what they liked. So I also try to see what they're doing on television because like you were even saying, like, on whether it's an algorithm or it's Target or if it's on television, somebody's getting paid big bucks to know marketing. So let me bootleg their smarts. And if I see every commercial that has like mid-century or has farmhouse or has shabby chic, then I know to kind of look at those things too. So
well, and like some of the popularity shows of like Mad Men or The Marvelous Miss Maisel, and those kinds of things can bring in some of like the mid-century modern thing, and it really kind of gets people's minds, in the forefront of what they're going to use with these things.
You see what that is?
Target. Oh, I know this story.
Listen, for the last 3 years,
listen, if you are in Michael's Target, good luck finding any of the stuff.
Are you poaching all the good stuff, Michael, like the deers and things? And not poaching all.
Randy,
I took them all. I took them all this year.
Tell me what you need.
I took them all this year. I did. This bag is full of nothing but these pink glitter deer. Last year, I would be in Target every day, twice a day, looking for the big ones that they had. Oh, yeah. Yes, I did. I bought them all. I don't even care. I bought them all. And I didn't feel guilty about it. I did not.
No.
And you guys,
I found a pink Target deer that's like 2 years old that still has the tags on it that's going to be coming up very soon.
You have a pink one?
I'm not going to show it to Michael because he'll demand that I send it to him.
No, I have one. I have the original ones that they did. This year, I don't know if they did them on.
He got me one for Christmas last year, and he said, Misty, you can sell that deer because they're selling for like $50.
Do you see what they did this year?
Yeah. I just saw those in our Target like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's an ornament. It's a tiny ceramic light up Christmas tree. It's brand new. But that's the thing. Like, that is how popular the vintage life is that. And see, that's the thing now.
Yeah.
I question, is it Target that's influencing it, or is the vintage community, is it becoming more popular? Is it becoming more socially accepted to go in and to decorate with these vintage and antique decor items? And because that's gaining traction, larger box stores are like, well, wait a minute, how are we going to keep up with that? Oh, I know. We can make our own ceramic Christmas trees and put our own spin on it to drive people in, because you can go into Target and buy, a 16-inch ceramic tree for like $30.
Right. They are
not the same. They don't look the same. They don't.
No, they're factory machine painted.
Yeah.
They're not painted by
then what's ironic
in 1975 on the bottom of your tree.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, everything that we run after, those left in the Holt Howard, all of that was mass produced and was sold at the 5 and 10.
Yep.
So it's.
But I think it goes back to nostalgia. Yeah. I mean, the quintessential nostalgia, first of all, is Christmas. Second of all, let's talk about Christopher Radko, who redid vintage Shiny Brights because, correct me if I'm not, he lost them in a house fire growing up and said, I want to reproduce these. So I think it's that memory, that nostalgia, the people that are no longer here with us that it reminds us of.
But the big box stores are always notorious on helping squash the secondary market, which is what we are all in. Right. So they kind of they lessen the value of things that we have, because what happens is you have somebody that will go to a Target because they don't care if the deer are original left in deer.
Genuine.
Right. So But then you do have the purists that are going to want the real thing. Yep, right. Yeah, I'm with you there. Yep. And they are going to still seek out that true item that, and go after it. But just like Lawn and Burger, just like Beanie Babies, anything like that, or Hess trucks or Winross trucks, they've mass produced so many, and or they keep bringing out different things that then they ruin the value of what's out there. So
I think it makes our stuff worth more, but that's okay.
Catherine Young says that, hi,
I like
Catherine.
both.
Yeah, Target corporate design is here in the Twin Cities, and all the vintage shop owners talk about how they source from there to inspire their designs.
Yep.
So it's just like what you said.
I mean,
yep. I guess it was Urban Outfitter years ago. Urban Outfitter, which is out of Philadelphia, they come up a lot to the Adamstown area. And for a while, and I don't know if they still do it, they were doing one of a kind on their website. So what they would do is they would literally go antiquing, and they would buy, let's use, for example, Pyrex. They'd buy a primary set, and then they were selling it. They were flipping it on their website. Right. So, yeah, they are out there, just like even when I, said like Martha Stewart, a lot of her people that, help come up with different ideas, decorating ideas, they come down, they shop, they're doing the same thing that a lot of us are doing. And then, they go back and they think, hey, we can turn a profit on this. So let's start making these deer again, because deer are popular. Ceramic Christmas trees are popular. And I do agree with you, Michael, that in doses, you mix it together, it looks very good together. Right. So,
I mean, everything that's old is new again on some level. Right. Fashion is notorious for that. Right. And I don't think our world is any different.
Right. But do you guys think, and kind of going back to like the whole trend thing and the nostalgia thing, and how is it that you keep up on trend? And I think that that's just it. And I think it's a slightly morbid kind of topic to talk about. But when you think about what was popular 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when you start looking at decor trends and you go back to the 80s, people of that age, a lot of that 80s, that it was very Art Deco inspired. So you had people coming of age in the 80s that were able to now have discretionary dollars, and maybe they didn't, and I don't think that the general public isn't putting a premium on genuine artifacts or antiquities or vintage, and they get the inspired by, they're going into the Targets, they're going into the Walmarts, and they're buying the mass produced things that still evoke a sense of nostalgia when they were younger. So those trends start coming back. So the next trends that I would argue, we're seeing heavy 50s, 60s. I'm going to say 70s, 80s. Yes, in fact, 70s, 80s is going to be the next, because it's literally the people that are sitting on this screen. We're the ones that are going to drive the next trends, because what we're primarily going to go after as we get older and older are the things that remind us of being younger and younger, of our grandparents, of our parents, of our childhoods, the things that we would see in the homes. The mushrooms are a great example. Those earth tones like the olive, the mustard, the rust oranges, the burnt reds, those things, I guarantee you that color palette, like the mums. Y'all know that these are my color palettes, but in a more updated way. But those were very popular. Those colors, those burnt, rusted out colors, were very popular when we were kids. So
I totally agree. But I want to say, though, there is a difference between mass produced in the 1950s and mass produced today. There's really a difference in quality and so there I mean, while I think some of the things like the stuff that you bought at Target, Michael, will maybe around in the next 20 years, I don't think maybe it'll be even more popular, because maybe it's going to be a lot more difficult to find them still in one piece, or that the paint isn't, you know what I mean? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see in 20 years, but I totally agree with you that things, like all of us, I believe, are children of the 70s and 80s, and the things that we remember as a child. Think about like the Trapper Keepers. Enamour Amy was right. Walmart did a whole relaunch of
The
the 1980s,
caboodles.
and they were
What?
a major hit.
Yes.
Caboodle.
Yeah. So I mean, those kinds of things, we see that. I think at the end of the day, it all boils down to feeling. A feeling that we get when we see something that evokes a memory of a time of when things were a little bit more calm in our lives when we were children, for the most part. I mean, we've all, there's been times it was turmoil as well, but I mean, it brings you to a happy memory. And I think that's kind of where it all. What? Where did you get that?
Tell me that ain't gonna be worth something in 30 years. Don't lie. You know that was gonna be worth something in 30 years.
Where'd you get that?
Target, girl. Target. But it's a Hallmark.
Have a Target. We're gonna go
I'll
Target.
get you one. I'll get you one.
Even the National Lampoon stuff.
Yes.
Like I see it almost every single time I get on, like Facebook or anything that has an ad. Like they're really pushing, this light up house and all the Cousin Eddie stuff. And being a child of the '80s, I remember going to see that in the movie theater when it came out. And then how it just continued and continued. But see, then this is where I go backwards, because then I remember watching White Christmas with my grandmother, which then took me back to when I was in the basement and found her shopping girls that were left in that she had tucked away that she bought at the Five and Dime downtown. Then we started putting those out. So it all just years ago I heard a study that whenever it takes a 45 seconds when somebody holds something in their hands to make an emotional connection. So I have often said to my dealers, place things in your booth so they can get them into your hands, get them into their hands, because if they make that emotional connection, it's going to help your sales. That's how this all kind of goes full circle. As we've always said, it's that emotional connection. And I'm sorry if we're ignoring anybody in the chat or anything we're not seeing.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things.
Whenever George comes into a room, I get really excited. And
well, that's an interesting thing, because I think that
Nomad here is George here. Hi, George. How are you?
George does make an interesting point. With the ornament I just showed up. I do think, and it is interesting, because a lot of the things that I think that we are collectively seeing that people are paying a premium on are things that were quote unquote mass produced, or were things that I'm a huge soft spot for things that were meant to be disposable. They weren't meant to be high end or anything. Not to say there's not a market for that, because there most certainly is. But for us, it's that Five and Dime kind of stuff. But you do have to wait 30 years, because you've got to wait for those children that are going to assign that memory to it to grow, to have the discretionary income, to want to have that again in their life, because it sparks that. But as George is saying, as we were saying earlier, you have to be careful if you are owning an antique mall, a vendor mall, a co-op. If you are an individual reseller, is that you do have to be leery of the pink ceramic deer that I absolutely loved and adored, because it can devalue or overall devalue the market. Right.
And that's what I was saying earlier when I said that the secondary market, they devalue it. But I mean, look at what happened with Martha Stewart when she released the jadeite. Then it flooded the market, and then it comes to this thing where, do I want to use my $200 jadeite bowls, or do I want to go buy hers that if they break, oh well, it's Martha Stewart.
Right. That's right. Oh well, it's just Martha Stewart.
Right. Now I hear that Martha Stewart Christmas, from 10 years ago is in. So if you're an online seller and you're at a secondhand store or a yard sale, check your comps. But that's something that you can flip and
year
see.
one.
Yes,
year
one.
Very well. And like I buy and sell, I don't sell them in my live sales, but I sell them on eBay, are the Hallmark motion things, because they put those out
Yeah,
every
Yeah.
year. There's a different
yeah,
collection of them. And so I bought 3 of them today at Goodwill that they still had the tags
mhm,
on them, and they had them for every year. Well, they have them for I bought the 3 with tags on them still, but
right,
certain things like that that they make for a limited amount of time, and then like Pier 1 with Pier 1 closing, and they
right.
did things at certain years and certain runs. I think those are the sorts of things that you always kind of keep back in your mind as
Hmm.
what could be happening in the future. The things that they bring back. It's different year to year to year, but it's
Yeah,
still along
right.
that same collection line.
It's like the first generation of whatever they put out, because I can remember probably, oh, I don't know, maybe 10, not so many 10 years ago, but 5 or so years ago, the Hallmark had the snowman that were animated that
Mm.
played the piano. And if you
Okay.
got, if you got the first one with tags and it worked, did you get one today? I mean, that was the holy grail at one point.
Yeah.
That is what, because
I
what
don't know if
happened
it
was,
still is,
well,
but
but
we'll see.
the what I always knew was that if you were late into collecting that and you got the third year or the fourth year, then you wanted to get the back years. And of course, they were made in a lesser run. They were more valuable to get your hands on.
But the more we kind of sometimes shoot ourselves in the foot a little bit, because the more we talk about certain things in these videos, the more people go out and they're looking for these things, and then the
Right.
more they
Yeah.
are listed on eBay. So it's kind of
Mhm.
a,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a
I
little bit
mean,
of a dance.
the old saying is knowledge is power. And basically, when it comes down to this business, whether you're, purchasing things for a booth or you're purchasing things to put onto the internet, it's going to be what you retain and what you remember. Because, for example, Misty, like you
Yeah.
and I are talking about the snowman, there could have been somebody that forgot about that,
Right.
but it stuck with you and me. So we have an advantage when we walk in and see it, where other people could pass that by. Um,
I think I might send
yes.
mine to Daniel. Daniel, I'll send those to you. Daniel said he worked for Hallmark and he hated those friggin' snowmen.
Aw.
They're so cute,
So,
Daniel.
okay, here is a question, and Judy is referring back to a question that Katie was
Yeah.
asking.
Okay,
How
go
do
ahead.
you guys
Go
let
ahead.
Yes. Go ahead.
it's a hot button one. We
But
gonna get an answer on this one.
no, 100% it is, because I'll tell you right now, I hate
Okay.
them. I hate them. I hate them.
What's the question? I
The cluttered
How
boots.
do you feel about cluttered
I'm here like
boots?
the old man. Like what?
The blue bogeys, no. Those will never come back.
It's
I
cluttered boots.
destroy them when I find them. So
What? Yeah, the cluttered boots thing. Yeah, Katie, Judy, all of you, just don't do it. I mean, I think as we are in this business longer, I tell people more and more, gone are the days of digging in a booth and wanting to, get on your hands and knees and dig for something. It's like, no. People want a same experience when they go to Target, right? Like, you don't dig for the last package of something at Target on your hands and knees. It's the same thing in our industry. And I think the people that display nice, like Misty, you said that you make it look nice, you give people an idea of what it could look like. Those are the people that sell in our store.
I think as a consumer, and I'll speak for myself, if I'm going to dig, I'm digging for a bargain. I'm not going to come into an
there
antique
you
store
go.
and dig. That's my own, not being an owner, but I'm going to, just like when we did the flea markets, we would know it as box lots, and they sat it on the ground. And the old adage they would say is if they're digging, they're going to buy, because they were probably down there, and you weren't going to get it at a premium. You were going to get it at a discount because you were doing the hard part in digging for the item,
So you're not going to pay $50 for a ceramic tree that you had to move 3 boxes, 5, items, get down on your hands and knees and pull it out from the back corner.
And And let me just tell you, from a very clumsy YouTube filmer person,
Right.
you about break your necks, because I can't tell you how many times I'm like, oh, and I've like almost have fallen because I've tripped over because I'm not, you're focusing on one thing and you're not focusing
Right.
Yep.
on the boxes that are all around you.
But
But you
even
know
as
what?
a shopper, I won't go into booths sometimes because it's so cluttered, it's so crowded. You could have something great, but the 20 minutes it takes me to find it, forget it. I'm on to somebody else who has
Yeah.
beautiful things displayed that I can pick and keep moving.
Now,
Yeah.
here, you know what? Because I think that, you made a really interesting point, and it actually ties back to the very first thing that we were talking about. But that's just the thing. You saying like if you're digging, I'm digging for a deal. I'm not digging to pay a
Yeah.
premium. And I
Correct.
think that there is a lot of weight to that statement because if we go back and we talk about, I will go in to an antique mall and pay the $50, but I won't want to pay the $40 at the Goodwill because I will pay the premium for the experience and to support the business, but
Right.
I'm going to Goodwill to get a deal. I'm not going to
Right.
Goodwill.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
but
Like,
are you?
what?
We're
I
hoping,
mean,
Misty. We're hoping.
But I mean, let's look at the fundamentals that Goodwill based themselves on, and we'll just go after them. It was supposed to be a place where people that didn't have the means to purchase new were going to go get something that still had life left in it because they couldn't afford brand new. But then
Yeah.
then you had folks that went in and started seeing things and thought, oh well, hey, they're selling this for $2. It's really worth 20. Then it started this stigma. And then with Goodwill being a business, they saw that as well. And it just continues and continues. So, and it is sad. And I think, Michael, you even said this in one of your videos. You don't know, and you hope that that money is going to a good cause. You can go into a lot of thrift stores, whether it be, religiously owned, whether it be, let's just call them commercially owned, like, a Goodwill. You don't know where that dollar's going, and it probably is going to feed a big animal. Now, at the end of the day, you go into an antique store, a secondhand store, something like that, even a consignment shop. That's benefiting the smallest of the smallest business because it's somebody who has, things, whether it be clothing in a consignment or antiques in our store, that are selling them to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Well,
That's where the difference
you know
lies.
what? Can you just say that again? Because
Absolutely.
Margaret, I think that and this is the thing, darling. Here's the thing. Resellers bring up the prices at Goodwill. We're a reseller. I am buying something to make money on it. And I
Right.
am not begrudging any business, and that includes Goodwill, to make a
Right.
dollar. I am not, at the end of the day, I'm not working under the premise of I am a business that is here to serve a greater good by
Right.
serving those that are less fortunate. I
Right.
am here because I want to invest that money into my future and my dreams, and that's the
Right.
God's honest truth. But I'm not presenting it in a way in which would allow me to kind of be like, well, but you can pay more for this because you're helping. I don't know that because I do agree, Jason, that the vast, and because I worked at a faith-based nonprofit, I did. So I do very much know that a lot of money gets taken up by overhead, and that's not against Goodwill. That's
Right.
And
business.
inflation. I mean, and
That,
inflation. The prices are going up.
absolutely. But
Right.
that's the thing. We do pay for our items at the end of the day. And whether that's at Goodwill or whether that is at an antique mall, I buy my items and I take a risk every single time, as do Jason and Tina. They take a risk whenever they have a new vendor that comes in. But we take that risk because I don't know if that $1 that can be multiplied by hundreds of times or that $100 thing is ever going to sell. And I'm out
Right.
that money.
Right.
Goodwill got
Well,
it for
I
free. If
mean,
it doesn't sell, throw it away.
let's
Right.
also talk about Megan saying, but buying something for $2 and then selling it for $20. I don't
$100.
buy things for $2.
that's free commerce. I mean, that's sort of what this country is built on, right?
Right. I mean, I think if we were, if we were going to bash Goodwill, let's be honest that, for example, okay, if they have things that are antiques or collectibles and they wanted more for, that's okay. But I feel bad for the folks that are going in there to try to get something, for example, clothing. Right. You know, there have been times that we have been in there and we've looked at clothing and Tina has said, you know, with my discounts, I can get this brand new cheaper at Kohl's. Mm-hmm. But sometimes that average consumer doesn't know that. You know, they go in there and I really feel bad for that person that, you know, may be on a very strapped income and they're purchasing something and Goodwill has gouged the price on it. I don't know. Maybe it's your preference and it's wherever you fall. I don't know. Do I hate Goodwill? No. But I mean, I have watched, because I've gone into Goodwill since I was a child, and I have seen them increase prices. And it's because they're feeding a larger animal than a smaller one. But I will say that I've gone into some religious thrift stores that are still very reasonable because they got a smaller, you know, smaller
overhead. Yeah.
I think for me,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Misty, go.
Sorry. I was just going to say, Misty, I think the problem some of us have is Goodwill is a thrift store. Let's be clear about what we're discussing. So when I go to Target, I don't expect to buy something for $1 unless it's specifically on clearance. That's a retail store. Goodwill has changed their mission, not their mission, but they've changed their business by trying to sell things at a retail price when they have categorized themselves as a thrift store. Right. So I'm very big on kind of, you need to know where you fall. So, you know, I mean, that's just like you go to the dollar store for dollar store stuff. You know what I mean? There's just there's different levels. And I don't think it's fair to say that resellers, I think resellers have a problem with Goodwill because we feel like they are trying to come after us actually.
They're capitalizing off of us.
Right. They're trying to steal our job kind of.
Right.
Right. Or our business. Right.
That, you know what? That's an excellent point. And and again, here on Vintage Rescue Squad, we want to be 100% clear and transparent, okay? And I also want to state this, and I will reiterate this, is that everything and the guests that we have consistently had on Vintage Rescue Squad, we all recognize at the end of the day that these are our opinions. And we all, and I can say this with certainty, that we've had some really good people on here that recognize that at the end of the day, they know exactly what it is their opinion. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to label right and wrong, but we're here to share our opinions and express them. And
right. They have a right to do that. So 100% I agree with you, Michael. They have a right to charge whatever they want. But here again, the deer that you bought at Target for what, $5, Target sure as heck didn't pay $5 for. They probably didn't even pay 50 cents for it. So I think we sort of take heat for this. Oh, you bought something for $2 and you made it for 20. Well, what do you think Target paid for your bag of goodies you're walking out with, or Kohl's or Penny's or Macy's? I mean, they're paying pennies on the dollar, and you know, and their business and manufacturing isn't even staying here. So sorry, totally off track, but I'm just saying, like, retail business is trying to get the brunt of it. Sometimes it doesn't feel fair.
I think that we get a really bad rep. Because a lot of the times, you know, people are watching us shop. So they're watching me shop and they may see, I know I saw that too. I love that. They may see me get something. They may see me buy something for, which I very rarely can get anything for $2. I mean, I'm paying sometimes $15 to $20 for a vase, or for, you know, I'm not sourcing at Goodwill. I'm really not. There's nothing there. There's nothing on the Goodwill shelves for me, for the most part, that's worth my time going into, that isn't chipped or broken or just isn't the caliber of things that I am wanting to purchase to sell, to make it worth my time. So I think that we get a bad rep because people are actively seeing, well, they bought this for
Right.
this, but they're selling this for this. But that's the free market system.
Right.
It isn't.
And that's not
I'm not setting the price. The market is setting the price.
Right.
It isn't
and that's
me
not
that's
your
setting the
gas.
price.
Right. That's not your gas. That's not your time. That's like there's
Right.
much more to it than that.
I think that when either it be in our end of the business, whether it be a brick and mortar or it would be somebody on YouTube or Instagram that sells, or even on eBay for that matter, or Etsy, I think what happens is if we were going to take those businesses and use like Target, let's say, they see us. They see what you guys do. It's like this stigma, this behind the scenes. Nobody sees the person that flies into China and haggles that they're going to get those deer.
Right.
They want 10 gross of those deer at a penny each. And
Right.
then, let's go after poor Kathy Lee in the sweatshops that, Walmart's again, that seems to be that it's that unknown. They don't see it. But then if it is, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier, the stigma of somebody who used to sell antiques. They were getting it for nothing and they were making all the money. Or, oh, they went into Aunt Mellie's house and bought everything for next to nothing and stole it from her. And now he's driving around in, this fancy car because that was the old stigma. It just seems to be, I guess it just seems to be our society of how we view things that, it's everybody's right that if, for example, if it was anybody that was not in the reselling community, if they went to a yard sale and they bought a bag of jewelry and they got that jewelry home and they realized that there was a 14 karat gold earring in it, and then they took that to a pawn shop and sold it. Do we begrudge them? No. They purchased it. They had it. It's their right to go make a
lucky. Oh my gosh, I wish I could be that lucky. You can be that lucky.
Yes.
If you go out every single day, put your time, your effort, your gas, your energy, and make it your business. And at the end of the day, that's what it is, a business. And businesses exist. Businesses succeed by making a profit. You can't buy and sell what you buy at. You will fail.
Exactly.
That's just business. And that's global. That's the global economy.
Right.
We can like it, we cannot like it. But at the end of the day, most of us aren't sitting at home growing cotton to make our own clothes, making our own vegetables, going out and hunting. That's just not the world we live in anymore.
No.
It's not.
No.
And I think that most people, complain about things or have something negative to say. Maybe, it's also a bit that they're jealous because they see that somebody did well with it or they were successful. And, I think there's always people that always like to see people not succeed. I'm not saying that that's right, but there's always this underbelly of people that, it in our society when, an actor and actress, something bad happens, they always enjoy when they fall from stardom. Right. There's just something to it. So I think you can kind of spawn that off and, mutate that into other variables of life or even in business. And, they hate people that make a lot of money. Oh, he makes so much money. Well he or she probably climbed to, that level. So
yeah. Well, and I think that as with anything, consistency in what you do is very, very important.
Right.
If you are wanting to have a successful antique booth, you're consistently going in there, you're organizing, you're cleaning, you're not putting dirty. You need to make it eye-catching to the eye. You want people.
Yeah.
You want your booth to look the best out of any other booth in that whole mall.
Right. Yeah.
And whatever that means for you, in your mind.
Right.
And it's the same with selling, having live sales or selling on eBay. The consistency, if you're listing consistently on eBay, if you're listing daily on eBay, you're feeding that algorithm. Same with YouTube. If you're putting out consistent content, whether that be one day a week, it's Wednesday at 3:00, every Wednesday at 3:00. That consistency doesn't have to be 5 days a week. It doesn't have to be 3 days a week. But then also the follow through. If you're having a live sale, it's so important for you to follow through and be consistent in your communication with your customers, with your shipping of the items to the customers, with the consistency of your sale. You know, you you don't want to have a too long of a sale, but you don't want to have a too short of a sale. So finding that happy medium, but the consistency with anything that you do in reselling and buying and selling antiques and vintage, I think is important.
Well, I think that's a lot of it. And to, Jason, Tina, you can certainly probably speak to this, but I think that people have a tendency to think, well, how hard can it really be to own an antique mall? I mean, can it really be that hard to go out to the thrift stores and the yard sales and the estate sales? And is all you're doing is buying it and putting it in a booth, or you're just getting up on YouTube and reselling it? That's not hard at all. There's not a lot of effort to it. And I think that's maybe part of like kind of like the earlier conversation about it being unfair or unjust or that we're being greedy is that people have a tendency to think that that's all it is. We walk into Goodwill. I paid $2 for everything. I find 30 things at Goodwill for $30, and then I go home and I sell it for 3,000.
Right.
If it was that easy, from your mouth to God's ears, if it was that easy, it's just like anything. And I think you guys have discussed this before. You're only going to get out of something what you put into it. So whether it be that you go to thrift stores to source, or you go to flea markets to source, or you go to an auction to source, there's going to be ebbs and tides. There's going to be days that you go to an auction and you go, oh God, this guy's here. They never let me get anything. I never get anything because they take and get it all. It's not, it is in essence, it's easy, but the reality of it is not that easy. You have to kind of know what to buy, know what to buy it at, know what you can try to project to get for it. Then you have to get outsource it, which is gasoline, wear and tear on your vehicle. It's wear and tear on yourself. You're going to go to multiple locations, whether it be you get up and go to yard sales, then hit thrift stores and end the night at an auction. Then you're going to have to research, clean, stock, and get it in. And you know what? If I bought that item for $2, I think that I should make 20 on it. I think for everything I just did, and I say me, I don't mean me. I think the individual has the right to make it. I'd be honest with you. I think the individual has the right to make 200 for doing all that. Absolutely. And nobody should begrudge them. Right. But then at the end of the day, this is where two worlds collide, whether it be, whether you own or you're selling. And then you also have I was reading. I don't have my glasses on.
Invoicing shipping only takes 5 minutes.
Yes, right. And then you have to run all over town to find the right box because you thought you had the right box. And then you realize not only having the shop, but we've also sold online. We did eBay, we done Etsy. You have to do those because some of those arenas are cooking when the brick and mortar is slow. So you're not just filling an antique booth. You're also sourcing, and you're also probably doing something, whether it be a live sale or it be online, whether it be any of the platforms that you use. You have to keep you have to keep your toe in multiple things because you can't just go for one, And one thing I do want to say is that if you do sell online and you do get yourself an antique booth, don't bring your duds into the antique booth and expect that to sell. Because if it was a dud at another antique store, if it was a dud online, it's going to be a dud when they come in. And don't price your stuff like it's on eBay, because they're going to come in and they're going to check their phone. And let me tell you, first and foremost, we don't have this jam your phones, and option. I myself have been in antique stores and can't get a signal. you can get a signal in my store. So if
You
there's a
can,
secret,
yes, it is true. You can. But the rest of Adams Town, I'm lucky to
yes,
be able
you
to get
can.
out of there because my Google
Yeah.
Maps won't even work. I'm like, I'm stuck.
I,
I'm stuck here for the rest of my life.
so if there's a secret society to jam phones, Mother Tucker's is not part of it. So
Call
take
us.
advantage of that.
Why do you
So
think that you guys are the only guests tonight?
because I mean,
That was good.
and you know, we always joke that we are on the south side of the turnpike, so we are the black sheep of Adamstown. So if you want to run with the rebels, come down to Mother Tucker. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know,
That's right. Well worth it. And I do just want to say, because DMB is making a point. Well, or is making a comment, and I'm going to say this: is that you know what? Because I do work a quote unquote 9 to 5, I 100% agree. My actual job is way worse. And you know why it's way worse? It's because I have to work for somebody else. It's because I'm not my own boss. And I think that that is the most difficult thing, is because when I do this, I feel like it's mine, right? Like this is my future. Like
Right.
I have some kind of control in my life. Whereas there, I have to do and say everything that else that somebody wants me to do and say. And I work
Right.
retail. I worked retail during the pandemic. Do you want to be talking about being put into some really difficult and some really crappy situations? I can tell you about those. So when I do feel like questions come up or arise out of the integrity of individuals who are resellers, I do take it personal and I do get defensive, especially when I know how hard it really actually is. It can be far more time consuming and far more physically taxing than my 9 to 5, but people don't get to see that because most times, Tina and Jason, they're out at the store and they're smiling and they're happy to be there interacting with the people. Or Misty is making a
Yeah.
YouTube video, or Jocelyn's making a YouTube video, and we're all smiling for you because that's
Right.
the environment that we want to create for you. And that is part of the job. Even though at the end of the day, everybody is going through things and everybody is struggling, yet we choose not to put that on the forefront. That also is another thing that most people don't consider when we talk about this being a business, is that more often than not we put on a smiling happy face because we need to handle our business, because each of these people are standing on their own, and it is
Yep.
important that we come to
Do
each
we
other's aid.
struggle? Do we struggle? Yes. Do
Every
I have
day.
days where I will crawl in the
yeah,
corner and have like a
Every
30-minute
day.
crying fit because I'm stressed out over how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? I have to do my taxes. I have to organize this. I have to do my taxes. I have to organize
yeah.
my tax. I have to pay my tax. But I'm not
Everyone.
going to show that because I am capable. I'm capable of handling my business professionally, and y'all don't want to see me crying in a corner, right? Nobody wants to see
Right.
that. So, but we all have moments where we can break down and we can be upset.
Oh my, is she in the
Of course, she is.
It never happened.
right?
But
I would.
I think that you have to, in order, there's no crying in reselling. No,
No.
No,
there is.
no,
Trust me. There's lots of it.
no. I mean, I'll tell you, the most unique position that I've been in is that you either have had a situation occur with a dealer, then you have to turn and smile to the customer while you just got into
Right.
a situation with your dealer, which was business. Then you turn to the customer, and then the customer is not happy. And there have been days I drove home and I'm like, what are you doing? You must be literally insane for what you're doing. But then you know what? I look at the store and I look at the people that come in. And you know what? When me and Tina
Yes.
bought Mother Tucker's, we bought Mother Tucker's with a mission. We wanted it to be a place that anybody can come to and
I love
forget.
that.
When you walk into Mother
Absolutely.
Tucker's, when you come into our store, we
And
want
you
you
do.
to forget all your problems. I always, especially coming from a background with music, You come in our store, we always have the 50s on. Whether you like the 50s or not, it sets the tone. I've had people that come into Mother Tucker's and said to me, you know what? I was having the worst day. But when I walked around and heard the music, and then I saw like these canisters that my grandma had or my mom had, I had people that would just come in during their lunch hour and walk around the store because it was their only sanity. It was the only thing they got in between their 9 to 5 to come in. And you know what made any of my stresses worthwhile? Because with a brick and mortar, and even if it's online and you're going to escape when you come home and shop, whether it be a live sale or you're going to shop, one of the platforms and buy something, it's an escape and it's positive and it's good feeling. So, and one thing I will stress, folks, get out to the brick and mortars, not so much that it's a mom and pop, get your hands on merchandise, feel the merchandise, learn things, because a lot of times, and I know when I watch a lot of the YouTube videos, people will say, well, how did you know that wasn't really Murano? How did you know that was, a knockoff? You only learn it when you use your senses. You have to feel these items to get to know what is real and what isn't.
See it.
You have to see it. You have to feel it. You have to let all 4 senses. So there is something to be said for getting out there, whether it be a flea market, whether it be, a co-op or a brick and mortar like ours. Get out there, get your hands on the merchandise, enjoy yourself. There is something positive to that. Trust me. Some of our darkest days are COVID, and during COVID, it is harder to conduct business throughout this. But at the end of the day, however we come out the other end, it'll be good. And get out there and get your hands on merchandise. I feel like I'm missing something in the comments, but go ahead.
Jeffrey, I'm just like Jeffrey said. You also have to lick it. You need to touch it, feel it, lick it.
Yes, well.
I mean, if it's Viking glass, you might want to try to eat it because it looks like candy.
Please sanitize before licking. That's
maybe. I'm saying, you know what? If you want to lick something dirty, live your life. It's sanitize after you lick
it. Please use protection and whatever you're doing. If you would see some of the areas that we have dug things out of, the thought of you licking the thing, if you want to, that is fine. But if you would have seen the dead mouse that I cleaned out of a vase, or, the mouse droppings that came from something in a box from auction, but this is part of it. So don't begrudge the poor person that is making $20 on a $2 item because they cleaned all that before you licked it at the antique store.
You know what? And I do want to interject something really quick, and I'm going to try to make this preachy moment, this soapbox moment, very brief. But this is what I want to say. At the end of the day, to each their own, and to wherever it is that you want to shop or whatever business that you want to throw your weight behind, have at it. But this is the thing, and this was what was really important to want to have Mother Tuckers on, Jason and Tina, is because I think a lot of times, when we as content creators talk about going into an antique mall, the general audience does like to see Goodwill videos over antique mall videos. And there's a reason for that. And it's kind of like that rags to riches kind of story. And we get that. But at the end of the day, this is the thing, is that as a creator, sometimes you do get an opportunity to actually meet the owner of an antique mall. And you find out how good and great and wonderful and gracious and kind and open-hearted some of these people are. And you want to support that. You want to support those individuals. You want to share that business. You want other people to go into that business. Yep. And you struggle then wanting to help a corporate entity versus helping out individuals, because those are individuals are you. They're just like you. They're not a business that doesn't care whether you shop there or not. There are people who do care that you shop there, that want you there.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for doing everything that you guys do, because all of the work and the time and the effort and the blood, sweat, and tears that you and your vendors put into it, you give us, myself, Misty, Jocelyn, George, Jeffrey, you give all of us the opportunity to make our businesses better. And by
Right.
doing that, you enable our community to become stronger and have better and
Yep.
more awesome things. But that's how we work together, is that we
Right.
support you guys because you guys make it easier for us.
I
Well,
have a
we
question.
appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. How do you feel? Okay, so like when Michael came into your store and he said, "I
Oh.
have a YouTube channel. Can I film in here?" I mean, as a store owner,
Mhm.
how did you were you? I mean, would you prefer someone ask you if they could film before they would film? What's your feelings on that?
As
Ooh.
You go
well,
first.
I would. Well, as the owner of the shop, we would just like a courtesy. Like if somebody is doing, look, if somebody is filming something, first of all, if someone is using their phone and maybe they're, having a video call with somebody and saying, "Hey, I'm at the store," that's fine. If somebody is filming something because they're going to put it on a platform, I think it's courteous and the right thing to
Yes.
do to say, "Hey, this is what I do. You may not know that this is out there, but this is what we do." And yeah, I think giving the owner the first right of refusal is always the best thing to do. And I
Yes.
really don't know of anybody that is a YouTuber that doesn't do that.
Right.
Maybe some of the YouTubers that do just yard sales don't necessarily let each yard sale know that they're there.
Yeah, that's weird.
But
It's weird to film at a yard sale. It's
what
like a
is
whole
it
other
is, and that's
you
very
know.
personal because you're at the person's
Yeah.
home, usually in their garage or their driveway. I mean, and usually you're getting their faces and you've talked to them when
Oh.
you purchase something. I know, but as a
I
shop
I
owner,
I agree with you. And like Jocelyn is the one that really kind of opened my eyes to that whole idea of asking because it is such
right,
a courteous thing. And once you do it a couple of times, it really does get a lot easier.
right,
And I think that one thing that I like to say when I'm asking is I'm very small business forward. I'm very pro antique mall. I'm always, I'm wanting to get people into your door. So I think it's all in the way that you approach it. If you approach it as that you are pro supporting small business, pro
right,
very,
right.
and I always say, I'm not going to show anybody's face. I'm not going to, you can run through all that thing though too. But I think you're right. I think it's it is a courtesy. And then you don't feel like a creepy creeper walking around,
Yeah.
Right,
people looking at you like,
right,
what the hell are you doing? Yeah.
right,
Mm-hmm.
And I think for those shop owners that don't know or aren't familiar with YouTube, to say like, I would link your website, I would link your social media.
yeah,
It really, from a business perspective, it's free advertising and free marketing, really.
right.
So
Absolutely.
why would you say no? Right?
Yep.
I mean, in our world, the antique world, a lot of antique shop owners are very not forward thinking. The thought of when Facebook became the thing,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
even having your own website, that
Yeah.
necessarily they still wanted to advertise in the antique paper and things like that. So there is going to be there's this. Well, I don't understand what you're
Right,
doing. What
right.
are you? Because I know even owning the shop, we had issues in our area that some folks would come in and they used to take pictures of items in antique stores, and they would go home and list it on the internet,
Yes.
and then they would sell it and then come and purchase the item. So that caused a lot of issue because that dealer's like, wait a minute, you're selling my item, you don't even own it. Well,
Right.
you're really taking the liberty of selling something that you don't own. So for a long
Yeah.
time,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
if somebody was taking photos in the store, I would ask, can I, is there anything that I can help you with? Are you taking pictures for some reason? Also, and I hate to go to there,
Crazy.
but you have to
Right.
also remember that who's coming in your store. Are they scouting out the store? Are they
Right.
looking and like taking, like if you, first of all, Mother Tuckers, we
Good
don't have
point.
tons
Right.
of gold. We don't have tons of silver. So if you're a shop and you have tons of things that are very valuable,
Right.
you need to
Yeah.
wonder, why is somebody filming these things? Are they scouting you out? Are they trying to, figure
That's
out,
a good
oh,
point.
so you might get pushback from an owner, but the owner is doing it hopefully.
Out
But
of concern.
the owner has to approach things the right way. You can't come at the person wrong. You have to have couth, you have to have ethics,
Right.
and that also then falls under reputation. I'm always big about your reputation, and I want the reputation of Mother Tuckers to be, the best. I want you to feel comfortable when you come into my store. I don't want you to not feel comfortable.
I think that too, if you're making YouTube videos, if you're, going shopping, you're making videos, I think it's very, very important to be positive. Don't go in there and say, oh my gosh, this is expensive. This is expensive. This is so expensive. That's giving it a kind of on a bad light, because what may be really expensive for you, it's all in perspective. It may not be very expensive for the next person. And so you're wanting people, you really want people to go into the doors, and you want them to visit these places, and you're wanting to build that relationship with that antique mall owner or antique shop owner, because they're going to want you to come in and film, and they're going to accommodate you. They're going to be like, I can turn the radio down. You want me to turn the radio down? I can turn it down. Because if you build that positive relationship with them, then it's just going to help you in the long run.
And at the end of the day, we're all in this together, whether you are brick and mortar, or if you sell online, or if you sell on, one of the like YouTube or Instagram. We all need one another. So we're all in this together. So you need the brick and mortars to be around so that there's places for you to purchase merchandise. We need the Goodwills to lower their prices so we can buy the stuff to bring it to you at a good price, so then you can buy it to make something on it too. So
Michael had someone yell at him real bad for filming. I witnessed.
Yes, she did. I was like,
too.
That never happened. It hasn't happened since.
You want to tell that story?
I think, you know what, Jason, because when you were saying about I don't even, whatever. Well, we were in Ohio, and that was the thing. Like, that was our first day, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was our first day.
I remember.
You were talking about the woman at the in her booth, and she was like,
God.
"No, in my booth."
And that was like, dude, when we walked in there, and it was like the Christmas magic land, right? And we were both like, "Oh my gosh!" And her, like, truthfully, even though she was rude, I'm gonna say this: her prices were really good. They were good.
Oh, we did not buy anything from her. We were like, okay.
But then that was the thing.
An icky feeling.
It was the way in which she chose to, I guess, and you know what? And I guess you could say, well, why didn't you ask her if you could film in her booth? I guess that's a fair point. But at the end of the day, I know, but it's just we were filming everywhere, and I didn't ask anybody. Do you know what I mean? And that's one of the few times. Like, when we got there, my initial thought was, how am I going to film here? There's too many people. I don't know how to do this. Like,
we had permission to film at the flea market. It's a little bit different when you're outside and you're filming at a flea market. You're not going to an established, Monday through Friday business that people are going, you know what I mean? You're just going to a weekend event. So it isn't like somebody, you're not like, I'm here at this person's booth, and this is their business, and this is where they're at, and this is where you can find them. You're just kind of randomly filming at a flea market. I think there's a difference.
Yeah. But I don't know. I was being very complimentary. I really, truly was. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, these prices are so good. And the next thing know, I'm like, don't take pictures in my booth. And I was like, okay. And then I turned, and like the look on our faces were like, and there was another chick in there too, who was a follower to both Misty, and we didn't even know it at the time. And then she was like mortified, and then it was just so weird and awkward, and everybody just laughed. She was like, well, people, they compare they
told by the principal.
Yes.
You're like,
I was like, oh my God, I just did something really bad. Let's just go. I felt like I was 16.
Linda.
I
Sorry,
totally
Carrie.
felt
You
like
go
I
ahead.
was 16 years old. It just took me so off guard. But that's an example of always wanting to put your best foot forward,
Right.
irregardless of where or how you're conducting your
Yeah.
business, is because that lady lost out on between Misty and I, it was Christmas. It was
Right.
antique
I was ready to buy a
Christmas.
lot.
She lost so much. She literally lost hundreds, if not near
And
thousands of dollars.
And at the end of
Like,
the day, Michael, if you're in retail, you'll agree you can't make everybody happy. So if she was
No.
that freaked out, that was her reaction, her decision.
Well,
You did the right thing by leaving. You just
yes.
kind of, it is what it is.
And
Yeah.
I think as your world evolves and moves forward, more people and more they're going to learn what it is.
Right.
I will speak for our community in brick and mortar that it was very new. It is very new. And you are going to get some stick in the mud, some backward thinking folks, that aren't going to appreciate. They don't even care what you do. It's just going to be you can have the best of intentions and they just don't care. But I think for the most part, the brick and mortar co-op antique stores, they will recognize what you're doing. They will realize what it does to benefit them. That, I'll admit, Michael, after you came in, I think it was the second time you visited the store. We had 2 or 3 folks that came in and said, we came in because we saw Michael's video.
oh,
We did, and they kind of went back behind everywhere you went and bought. So it does. Let me speak to anybody who is listening or watching this that owns a store. If somebody comes in and says that they're from YouTube, give them the opportunity to come in and film, because 9 times out of 10, they have integrity, not only for your shop, but for themselves, because they also have a reputation and they don't want that reputation tarnished. So they have the reputation of the brick and mortar in mind as well. So
Yeah.
You just got to work together. I mean, and of course, yes. And I will say we aren't like some of those stores in Maryland that yell and scream at certain people and get us out of pocket, if you know what I'm saying, without getting into anything. So, Jocelyn, you're always more than welcome at Mother Tucker's, and I won't come in like a crazy man screaming and running around. So, trust me.
much, not that much.
Right.
No, but that's,
Yeah.
and I cannot recommend it enough. Like, irregardless if you are a collector, if you are a reseller, like, I really just want to impress upon you, like, and this has been like really, I think, I don't want to say weighing on my mind, but I think that like a new perspective has really started to enter into my head in the direction of, the cults of vintage and the kind of videos that I want to be putting out and the kind of people that I want to put my time and energy into it. And it really is about supporting small business. Like, it really truly is. And it's not a question of, well, I don't like how Goodwill's, I don't, like, at the end of the day, but I don't know. To me, it's more important to, if even, at 11,000 subscribers, if I can just shine that light for 2 or 3 more purchases a week, that's so worth it to me. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and if we as a community collectively start doing that, and we have, but I don't know. It's important because what happens if these places go away? Where are we going to go shop? Whether you're a collector, whether you're a reseller, where are we going to go? Goodwill?
Right.
No.
No.
Like,
No.
really? That's what we're going to be left with if we're lucky. Because a lot of folks out there don't have Goodwills near them. Or you do, and they're already garbage anyhow. So what's the
They're
point?
bad wheels.
Yeah.
And I think
Crap
you should
wheels.
Right. I think you should remember most all of us who resell, whether it's online, in stores, owning stores, we do this because we love the stuff. Like, really, it's the passion behind the good old stuff and saving it and getting it to where it belongs and appreciating it and remembering things and invoking those happy memories. That's really why we all do this. It's that simple.
And that is why we do that, Chrissy's Corner. for that exact reason. She's a new subscriber to Mother Tucker's. Absolutely. Like,
Oh,
ugh,
thank you.
Well, and I say this for anybody out there, support your local business, even if
Yeah,
it's not in our, community, even if
right,
it's in, a mom and pop bake shop, if it's a mom and pop flower shop.
right.
The only way that our country can stay and be successful is to help one another, and that's to stay small, because
Yeah,
that money stays in the community
yeah,
because the people running the stores live in that community, and it also helps them grow, which helps your community. So
yeah.
remember,
So
always
go
shop
out this
small.
week. Go out sometime this week. Go to a local shop.
yeah,
Yes,
I
yes,
wish I think I'm saying, spend some money in a local establishment, a
yes,
bakery, a soda
yes,
shop,
yes.
an antique mall.
Especially with the way inflation is going and the way the economy is going, it is getting more and more difficult for small businesses to provide you with things that you take for granted. So please, instead of maybe going and eating at one of the larger restaurants, go to a local restaurant.
Yeah.
Go get clothing at a boutique. Go get your bagels at the local
right
bagel
there.
shop.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I
Yes.
That,
mean, yes, the huge corporations are there for a reason, but I will
Right.
tell you that the only way to support your community is to shop small. And
Yeah.
I think some folks don't necessarily understand what that means. Go anywhere where you can see the owners or see the
yes.
people or get to know the people. That is how we became the country and society that we are. And without that, we're not. So,
Agree.
and I just want to say two things before I forget. Number one, a co-op is only as strong as its dealers. And any and every dealer at our shop we love. We enjoy having you. We enjoy, what you do. And I also want to personally thank anybody that works behind our counter, whether it be Dave or it be Heather or it be Nancy or it be Kathy, and all our dealers that lend us a hand during the extravaganzas. We could not continue, especially even during these tough times with the pandemic. We could not continue without your help, and that again is why it's a small business. We're a community and we're only as strong as all of us together. So, you know, I guess I'll get off my soapbox, but I just wanted to make sure to say that. And
I was ready to keep you up there. Come on with it.
I can't,
Yeah.
I just can't say it enough.
We're ready to go have a parade.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm in. I'm in.
But it is. I mean, and even if you're in the community of YouTube or Instagram, or if you sell on, at a flea market, or if even if you do eBay, we're all in this together. We all have the tough times and we all have the good times. So, keep going. We're all in this together. And if you're nervous about a booth, just go into a couple malls and see and get to know them. And you actually probably should be doing both. If you're selling on any other platform, you probably should be doing something in a co-op, or whether you set up at a flea market or you do a local market, whether it be, a hand goods market and a vintage market, you really should be doing both.
And sometimes what sells really well online, there's the opposite is true in stores. So it actually helps you broaden your horizons, maybe get rid of stuff that you can't sell, what you can't sell online, you can maybe sell in store and at least make your money back or make a little bit, not maybe as much as you would online. So there's benefits to both.
And the one thing I didn't want to forget to say was, folks had said, how do you find out trends of things that are popular? What we used to do in the business prior to the pandemic was you would get your education at auction. If you saw the prices of things going up, or you saw if you saw other people in your industry going for things, you then had to say why. And then once it took a little, that's how you learned what was up and coming or what was working for one, so on and so forth. Once it gets a little safer again, maybe start going out to an auction. You will start to see what those people are fighting for, and they're fighting for it because they all want the same thing, to sell, because they know they can make a profit on it.
And isn't it funny when you do go at an auction and you have a brick and mortar store and you see like something and you're like, I have that in my store. I have that in my
Uh-huh.
store. And you see it and you know what you've priced it at, and you see it selling for a lot, and you want to be like, hey,
Uh-huh.
hello,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just right down the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah.
Where were you at?
Right.
You got to seize those opportunities whenever you can, Misty Pay. You better be tapping them on the shoulder, being like, "Hey, man, I got this."
Meet me in
The
the parking lot
road.
later. I got the goods in the back of the van.
Don't ever meet in the parking lot later. No, I also think too, right. I also think too, on the point with trends is sometimes I get it, but at the same time, our business covers a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think it needs to be about the trend. There's lots of different trends, whether it's home decor. I mean, what 80s toys are coming back now, and 90s, from those of us growing up. Like, there's all different kinds of things. So it's sort of fun too sometimes to just, you find something you think, I think this is cool. I'm going to spend $5 on it and see if I can make some money. Sometimes that's cool too.
And try to sell a variety. And what you should do is, if you're new at a shop, price a few things that are underpriced, because you're going to stir up some commotion. You're going to get people coming back to your space, and you're going to get your footing quicker. Never be smarter than your customers, but then again, also tuck in things that are cheap so that it brings them back, because if it brings them back, it will encourage them to buy more.
Your customers are a walking, talking billboard for you. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to tell their grannies. They're going to tell their aunts. They're going to come back, and they're going to be like, that's the booth. That's the booth right there.
And you should always low, middle, and high have that range. So that way somebody who doesn't maybe even collect, but just thinks, oh, that's super cute, I'll buy that, because I would spend that in a department store. And then you have the collector that will pay the high price, and then the middle ground.
And don't go cheap, but don't go too high. I always recommend asking your shop owner, what is the price point of the average of things going out the door? Anybody that has an antique logger at their shop should be able to give you that data, so you can kind of gauge yourself what the price point is of things going out the door. What is the volume of things going out? What is the average? So if the average is 20, then you should be encouraged to bring things in around that price point, about $20.
And don't have your booth constantly be 50% off, and all of your prices are way too expensive, and it's not you're not fooling anybody. Come on.
Right. Because once you've come in the 10th time and you realize that booth is still 50% off, and everything's 100, yet I'm paying 50, and 50 is pretty close to retail. Yeah, they're not fooling anybody, because the customers are not stupid.
No.
Do you get people that haggle?
That's a good question, Randy.
We do, and we have. And what we do is, if it depends, well, first of all, it's up to the discretion of the cashier who's working to determine if they're going to call that dealer. It has to be worth their time, and it has to be worth the dealer's time, because 9 times out of 10, the dealer's probably working a full-time job. So if somebody is bringing up something that's $20 and they want to get it for 18, not that you want to make the customer angry, but it's not worth bothering the dealer, because the dealer's going to get annoyed because you bothered them, and they're probably not going to get a better price. So then I've also had people sit things up at the counter and say, well, I'm going to use cash. No, that doesn't really make a difference. Yes, cash is better for a small business, because then we don't incur those fees. But I've had to also then say to some customers, I'm sorry, this is not a flea market. If I stood up here all day and negotiated every item in this store, I'd never be able to check anybody out, and we'd never be able to keep going. Then you have to also say to yourself as a customer, would you walk up to, I don't know, let's use Walmart, for example. Would you walk up with a sweater to the courtesy desk and say, oh, would you take $12 for this? No, you wouldn't.
Swear I've had people do that. I'm like, are you for real right now?
I don't doubt it.
Are you for real? For real?
I mean,
for real though, man. Come on.
At the end of the day, you are dealing with the general public, and you have to, for me with the store, you have to keep that in mind. and you don't want to offend anybody. You do your best. You're not going to please them every time. But there are times that you just have to say, no, I'm sorry, this is not a flea market. We can't haggle over these prices. This is what the dealer
Oh, and
said.
you'll get, and I'm sure you've had people huff and be like, well,
Oh yeah, oh
Right.
yeah. Yeah, people say, well,
What
I don't
kind
never
of
come back
place
here.
is this that
Yeah,
doesn't
right.
make
what
a
Yeah,
kind of
deal?
establishment are you
yeah,
running?
yes.
Well, I can
Now,
tell you it's not a flea market.
thank you.
That I can't say.
Most shops, though, and this is also a good question to ask if you're going in to be a dealer, most shops do have a store policy sometimes that if someone spends X amount of dollars, if an item is over, let's say $20, and
Right.
someone asks for a discount,
Mhm.
they'll do an automatic 10% off or something like that. That way, as to not bother the dealer, but then
Right.
appease the customer.
Right.
So there are sometimes shop deals in that way that are in place.
And any shop that has integrity is
Yep.
going to have terms and conditions that they're going to give to you as a new dealer. If
Or they should.
Yeah, if they don't have some kind of, proposals or structure,
Or
then
rules.
right, then you have to question that shop because it's not being run structured. So,
Right.
you do toe the line, and you have to also then know the integrity of the owner, because they're making sure that it's not looking like a flea market, that it's not looking like a yard sale, that it's not looking like a craft store. Sometimes the dealers get offended, but you're doing what's in their best interest, because if
Yeah.
you let the store just go rampant the wrong way, it's going to get a reputation, and it's going to hinder everybody who's part of it. So,
The
sometimes
people
it's,
don't want to come in.
exactly.
Mhm. All right. Well, you guys, we quickly got a
I
little bit,
know. Why am I
we
so fast?
quickly got
Right.
here. And I just want to say how thankful and appreciative, because I saw several people say how they just feel like Vintage Rescue Squad is just getting better and better. And I think that, Misty and I, that's something that we've talked about these last couple of weeks. Vintage Rescue Squad has really, I think, come into its own so far as the topics, us being open and honest, and as Missy says, taking the veil back.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. I, we have really enjoyed the past couple of weeks more so. Not to say that we haven't always enjoyed. Please don't, but it's been truly wonderful. And I think what has really helped us turn that is that you guys, I think, down in the chat have really started to engage with one another
Yeah.
and have really started to bring those questions forth. And it has really made the conversation much easier. There's never a lull, because now there's all of these conversations, and it's hard to keep up. It's so good to see.
We really like the conversation to be very organic. Like, we kind of like have an idea of kind of what we want to talk about. We really want the conversation to be organic, because there are certain things that happen from week to week to week to week to week. And we're all in this community. We're all trying to learn from one another and help each other out. So we say this all the time, we're up here talking on the screen, but seeing everybody else's chat and they're engaging and interacting with one another is still such an integral part of this show each week. So it really is something that we're enjoying a lot more, because the conversation is really getting really good. It's really getting really good. So,
Well, we feel
but I do want
privileged.
to go to.
Thank you so much for letting us be a part of it.
Yes, thank you. And before we go, Michael, I have something. I had two things. One, Michael, yours did not arrive yet. So you're going to have to come back to Mother Tucker's
Okay.
to get it. But Misty, I have something that I want to give you, and I'm going to ship it to you.
Nobody's given me a present on Vintage Rescue Squad before.
I know this.
It's a Liberace. It's a Liberace record. It's from my own personal record collection. It's a record.
What?
It's a record with him
magical.
on it.
I'm
So
going to
you
get me a
can
frame,
play
and it's going to hang on my wall.
So this is a gift from Mother. Oh, I feel like I'm doing a live sale. gifting this to you as a gift from Mother Tucker's. So I will get this in the mail to you, Misty. But it is the one, but it's funny because a few months ago I was going through my vinyl collection and I was taking some to the store and I didn't even know I had it. And I went, oh my God, I've only had this to give to you. So it's coming your way.
So much.
So it's coming your way. You're very welcome, Misty. I know it's going to a good home.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Michael, you wait till you see what I have in store for you. It's got spun heads and it's Christmas. It's something I've never seen, and then we'll have one and you're gonna have one. So we'll both be like soul brothers.
Twinsies.
It's crazy.
Nobody's given us presents before, Michael.
No, well, maybe we should make this a requirement. What's our parting gift going to be? You want on Vintage Rescue Squad? Oh, it's going to cost. Yeah.
You get.
I mean, I do say Tina from Eclectic Treasure Hunter did bring me a life-size cutout of Liberace.
Right.
So that's pretty up there. But
but you know what? Decent. Don't forget. Tina, a Vision in Vintage, she did give us the gift of a hangover.
Oh, yes, she did. Oh, my God.
I would just like to thank all the Tinas out there who are carrying on my name in such a wonderful way of gift giving. Y'all rock. Go, Tina.
About that. Tina got us drunk. She got us drunk.
Call me, Tina.
well, Misty, when you come down to the area, this Tina will get you drunk, and Michael,
Tina. And George was there that night. Yeah.
So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, George was. Now, yes, I am coming out to Pennsylvania. I'm trying to figure something out. And so I'm trying to work something out. So yes, I definitely want to get out there. I've never been east of Ohio.
Okay.
So that's sad.
It'd be 10 hours. Well, no.
Oh, Michael, I'm flying. I'm not driving.
Oh.
I can't sit in a car that long.
Well, I mean, just saying, if you would take Mark Pate, you would each only drive 5 hours.
Yeah. How is that like 10?
All right.
Is that 10?
Yeah. Well, no, for me it was 7. I think Jocelyn it was 6.
Okay.
And for you it was 3. So you're somewhere between 9 and 10 hours.
She'd be about 10, yeah.
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 It's hard for a girl like me to sit in a car that long. I can't. I gotta get out. I can't.
Misty, you'll have to fly here. Then you'll have to rent the U-Haul that you're going to fill and drive the U-Haul home.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. True. Misty Pate, I don't think you understand.
No,
it's literally a straight line. It's 7 miles, and there's how many? 21.
Yeah.
Is that about right?
Yeah, okay. Probably.
That doesn't include the flea market.
Right. Yeah. And then it doesn't include the fact that you come and talk to Jason and Tina. We'll take you to all the honey holes outside of the area.
So, okay. I will have to stop every 2 hours. I will. I'll figure something out. We'll figure something out.
I'm sure if you mapped out some antique stores, you could, just make your way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to figure that out. They are, but I have a hard time sitting still. And if I'm driving, I have to fall asleep.
Oh my God, that's what you could do. You can wait. You can rent an RV. That's right. You can do that now.
Michael, that's the plan. That's like when Mark retires, we're selling our house.
No, but you can try it out. You can rent an RV and just experiment for like a week and see how it's going to go.
And then you have to film it all because it's going to be hilarious at times. And you're going to have a whole YouTube channel just on living in a mobile home.
It is my idea. I want this to eventually be a thing. Jeffrey and I have already talked about it. I want to do where Jeffrey and I get into an RV and we drive across the country looking for little mom and pop thrift stores and antique stores.
Yep.
Mark and Aaron can drive the whatever it is we're towing behind us. Barb can be there.
Mark ain't gonna do that. He ain't doing it,
Barb
girl.
can be to make sure that we're behaving and make sure that we're all that we're not,
You
you know,
ain't gonna
not
behave. That ain't
each
gonna happen
other.
either. What's she talking about?
To be like the Partridge. Yes, like the Partridge. Jeffrey and I could pull over, do a little concert, make a little bit of money.
Oh my. I've seen you and Jeffrey shop together. I don't know. Jeffrey might just disappear and not
I'll push him down.
Oh, Lord. Well, on that note, guys, Tina and Jason, I want to give a big, huge thank you on our behalf, on everybody's behalf, down in the chat below. We really do appreciate you guys coming on here, being so open, so honest. We really, truly cannot thank you enough. It was an amazing night. Hopefully, you guys had a good time.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
It was our pleasure.
Yes, our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Misty. Thank you guys so much.
This was
Of
awesome.
course. And you guys don't forget, down in the description of the video, I made everything really super easy. So if you're thinking, maybe I do want to take your own road trip, Mother Tucker's website is right down there. You can just click on the link. It's going to take you right to the homepage. You're going to see some pictures. You're going to see the address. You can Google map it, find out how far of a road trip it will be for you. Don't forget, Mother Tucker's and Misty's Instagram page have both been linked down below. Is all you have to do is click on it and hit follow, no cost. Misty's YouTube channel is also linked down below. Again, if you by some weird coincidence aren't subscribed, which
I'm sure that there are people that are not subscribed to my channel that are in the chat right
now. Please make sure that you do that. And remember, tomorrow afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be doing the Tuesday sale by myself because Misty will still be in Florida. So I will be taking over the reins. I promise. I'm gonna try to pick up the slack. It is going to be Christmas. It's going to be all Christmas. I've got some blow molds for you. Yes, I said blow molds, more than one. I've got some handmade vintage Christmas decor for you guys. Maybe some plush Santas will make an appearance or two. So do make sure you show up for that. What?
Any Russians?
There might be. There might be a mini Rushton even. Yeah. Maybe. Could be.
And I can buy today because I'm not in the sale.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Again, Tina, Jason, thank you guys so much. We hope you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Yeah. Don't forget, we are going to be back next Monday at 8 p.m. Next week, it'll be on Misty's channel. So, all right, guys. I think that's it, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. You guys have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.